What if the very things you're holding on to most tightly are the exact things preventing you from experiencing true happiness? What if everything you fear losing is actually weighing you down, consuming your energy, and blocking the life you're meant to live? And what if there's a Buddhist practice so powerful that it can transform your entire existence, not by gaining more, but by releasing what no longer serves you? Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to reveal the one question you need to ask yourself that will show you exactly what you need to let go of to unlock the life that's waiting for you. If you're ready to discover how letting go can be the most liberating and transformative act of your life, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I share profound wisdom every week that can genuinely change how you experience your life. Now, let's explore this life-changing practice together. Take a moment and think about what you're holding on to right now. Not just physical things, though those count too, but also relationships that have run their course. Identities that no longer fit, beliefs that limit you, grudges that poison you, expectations that disappoint you, fears that paralyze you, control that exhausts you, outcomes you can't guarantee, versions of yourself that you've outgrown. We all carry these invisible weights, clinging to them as if our survival depends on it, not realizing that they're draining our energy, dimming our light, and keeping us from the very happiness we're seeking. Buddhism teaches that attachment is one of the fundamental sources of human suffering. Not love, not connection, not caring deeply about things and people, but attachment. That desperate, clinging quality where you believe you cannot be okay without something or someone, where your sense of identity and security is wrapped up in external conditions, where you grasp and grip and hold on with white knuckles because you're terrified of loss. This attachment operates like an invisible trap. You don't see the bars of the cage because you've convinced yourself that what you're holding on to is keeping you safe, when in reality, it's keeping you imprisoned. Let me paint a picture that might feel familiar. You're in a relationship, maybe romantic, maybe a friendship, maybe even with a family member, and somewhere deep down, you know it's not working. It's not abusive or dramatically terrible, it's just not right anymore. You've grown in different directions, or the dynamic has become toxic, or it's simply run its course. But you hold on. You tell yourself stories. We've been together so long. I've invested so much. What if I never find another connection like this? What if I'm making a mistake? What will people think? I don't want to hurt them. Maybe it will get better. And so you stay, not from love, but from attachment, from fear of loss, from the terror of the unknown. And every day you stay in that misaligned relationship, you're not just preventing yourself from experiencing something more authentic, you're also consuming enormous amounts of energy, maintaining something that wants to end. Energy you could be using to live, to grow, to discover who you're becoming. Or consider your relationship with your career or your identity as a professional. Maybe you studied for years to become something, a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, whatever it is. You've built your entire sense of self around this identity. But somewhere along the way you've changed. The work that once excited you now feels empty. You find yourself fantasizing about completely different paths. But you can't let go of this identity because you've attached your worth to it. Because you've invested so much, because it's how everyone knows you, because admitting you want something different feels like admitting you've wasted years. So you stay increasingly miserable, increasingly disconnected from yourself, all because you're attached to an identity that no longer fits who you are. These are just two examples, but attachment shows up everywhere. You're attached to being right, so you can't admit when you're wrong or when you've learned something new. You're attached to being seen a certain way, so you can't be authentic because you're too busy managing others' perceptions. You're attached to how things should be, so you can't accept and work with how things actually are. You're attached to outcomes, so you can't enjoy the journey because you're fixated on destinations. You're attached to the past, so you can't be fully present. You're attached to ideas about the future, so you're living in fantasy rather than reality. Attachment, attachment, attachment. And each attachment is a thread binding you, limiting your movement, draining your energy. The Buddha taught that to be free, you must learn to let go. And this is where most people misunderstand. They hear "let go," and they think it means not caring, being cold, detaching from all relationships, becoming some emotionally distant monk who renounces everything. But that's not what letting go means. Letting go means releasing the desperate grip, the attachment, the belief that you need this thing to be okay. It means you can still love deeply, care passionately, engage fully, but you're not clinging. You're not gripping. You're not basing your entire sense of okayness on external conditions that are fundamentally impermanent and outside your ultimate control. Think of the difference between holding a bird in your hands. If you grip it tightly, desperate to keep it, you'll either crush it or it will struggle frantically to escape and hurt itself in the process. But if you hold it gently, with open palms, it might stay with you by choice, and if it flies away, you can watch its flight with appreciation rather than devastation. That's the difference between attachment and love, between clinging and allowing, between fear and trust. And here's what's so beautiful about letting go. It's not about losing. It's about regeneration. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you're not diminishing yourself. You're making space for new growth. Think about a tree in autumn. It lets go of its leaves. Is it losing something? In one sense, yes, but in a deeper sense, it's preparing for regeneration. Those leaves were useful for a season, but holding on to them through winter would drain the tree's resources and prevent new growth in spring. Letting go is the tree's wisdom. It knows that to live, to thrive, to continue growing, it must release what served its purpose and is now complete. You are like that tree. The relationships, identities, beliefs, patterns that served you at one point in your life might no longer serve you now. Holding on to them is like the tree trying to keep its autumn leaves through winter and spring. It prevents new growth. It drains your vital energy. Letting go allows you to regenerate, to discover new aspects of yourself, to create space for relationships and opportunities and experiences that are aligned with who you're becoming rather than who you were. But letting go is terrifying because it requires trust. Trust that you'll be okay without this thing you're holding on to. Trust that the unknown might hold something even better than what you're releasing. Trust that you're more resilient and capable than you give yourself credit for. Trust that life is unfolding in ways that serve your growth even when you can't see the bigger picture. And most of all, trust in yourself, in your inherent worth that doesn't depend on any external condition, achievement, relationship, or circumstance. This brings us to one of the most profound Buddhist teachings. True happiness is found in the present moment, not in some future achievement or acquisition. Yet most of us live our lives constantly postponing happiness. I'll be happy when I get that job, when I find that relationship, when I lose this weight, when I make this much money, when I retire, when. Always in the future, always conditional, always dependent on something changing or something being acquired. And what happens? You achieve the goal, you get the thing, and after a brief moment of satisfaction, you're back to feeling however you felt before, and now you're identifying the next condition that needs to be met before you can be happy. This is the hedonic treadmill, and it's exhausting. You're running and running, pursuing happiness, but never actually arriving because happiness keeps moving further away. The Buddha saw through this trap. He taught that happiness is not a destination to reach by acquiring or achieving things. It's a state of being that's available right now in this present moment, regardless of your circumstances. Not a naive, superficial happiness that requires everything to be perfect, but a deep contentment and peace that comes from being fully present with what is, from accepting reality as it is, from releasing the constant grasping and aversion that create suffering. This doesn't mean you don't have preferences or goals. It means you don't base your fundamental okayness on achieving them. You can work toward things while being at peace now. You can prefer certain outcomes while being okay with whatever actually unfolds. You can want things to change while accepting how they are right now. This is the middle way the Buddha taught, not the extreme of desperately pursuing everything or the extreme of renouncing everything, but the balance of engaging fully with life while not clinging, of caring deeply while not being attached, of acting in the world while being at peace within. And when you find this peace in the present moment, something remarkable happens. You stop wasting enormous amounts of energy on regret about the past or anxiety about the future. That energy becomes available for living now, for being creative, for noticing opportunities, for connecting authentically with people, for experiencing beauty, for doing work that matters. You become like a vessel that's been emptied of old, stagnant water. Now, fresh, clean water can flow in. This is what Buddhism means by creating space. When you let go of attachments, when you release what no longer serves you, when you stop filling every moment with desperate doing and constant mental chatter, you create inner space. And that space is not emptiness in a negative sense. It's not void or lack. It's potentiality. It's the fertile ground from which new insights arise, from which intuition speaks, from which creativity flows, from which opportunities can be received. Think about your life right now. Is there any space? Or is it crammed full, every moment scheduled, every silence filled with noise, your mind constantly churning, your emotions constantly stirred, your energy constantly dispersed across 1,000 concerns? When you're that full, that busy, that consumed, how can anything new enter? How can you hear your own wisdom beneath all the noise? How can you notice the subtle opportunities that life is offering? How can you be present with the people you love? You can't. You're too full. You need space. But creating space requires letting go, and letting go triggers fear. Specifically, it triggers the fear of emptiness. We've been conditioned to fear empty space, empty time, empty silence, empty feelings. We fill our calendars because being busy makes us feel important and avoids confronting deeper questions. We fill silence with constant input because quiet makes us uncomfortable. We fill empty emotional spaces with new relationships, shopping, substances, distractions because we're terrified of feeling empty, equating emptiness with worthlessness or depression. But here's a truth that Buddhism has understood for millennia. The feeling of emptiness is not your enemy. It's not a problem to fix or avoid, to desperately fill. Emptiness is natural. It's a signal. It's your psyche's way of saying, hey, pay attention. Something in your life is out of alignment. You're pursuing things that don't actually fulfill you. You're living according to values that aren't yours. You're ignoring what you really need. Emptiness is an invitation to stop, to listen, to reconnect with yourself, to discover what's truly important rather than just filling your life with what you think should be important or what others say is important. When you allow yourself to be with emptiness rather than immediately running from it or filling it, something profound can happen. In that spaciousness, in that silence, you can hear yourself, your authentic desires, not the programmed ones, your genuine values, not the inherited ones, your real feelings, not the ones you think you should have. Your true needs, not the ones society tells you to have. This is where wisdom lives, in the space between thoughts, in the quiet beneath the noise, in the emptiness that you've been taught to fear. Here's a question I want you to reflect on deeply, and I'd really love to hear your honest answer in the comments. What's one thing you've been holding on to out of fear of feeling empty or alone if you let it go? Maybe it's a relationship, a job, a habit, a belief about yourself, an old identity, or even a grudge. What would happen if you allowed yourself to let it go and simply be with whatever emptiness arises? Share below, because naming what we're afraid to release is often the first step toward freedom. Learning to be with emptiness, to not immediately fill it, to listen to what it's teaching you, this is a practice. Start small. Maybe it's 5 minutes of sitting in silence without your phone, without music, without any input. Just sitting with yourself. Notice what comes up, notice the discomfort, the urge to distract, the thoughts and feelings that arise. Don't judge them, just notice them. This is you meeting yourself, perhaps for the first time in a long time. This is you creating space to hear your own wisdom. Or maybe it's clearing physical space in your home. Go through your possessions and notice what you're holding on to that you no longer use, need, or love. Each item you keep requires energy, space, attention. When you release things, you're only keeping out of guilt, obligation, or, what if I need it someday, thinking. You create physical space that somehow creates psychological space too. Your environment affects your inner state more than you realize. A cluttered, overcrowded space reinforces a cluttered, overcrowded mind. Creating space externally supports creating space internally. Or maybe it's creating space in your schedule. Look at your calendar and notice how much you've committed to out of obligation rather than genuine desire. How many activities are you doing because you think you should, because you're afraid of disappointing others, because you're trying to prove something? What if you practiced saying no to protect your time and energy for what truly matters? What if you built in open spaces in your week where nothing is scheduled, where you can respond to what emerges in the moment rather than being rigidly bound to predetermined plans? Each of these practices, sitting with silence, releasing physical possessions, creating spaciousness in your schedule, they're all forms of letting go. And each one teaches you that you can survive and even thrive with less grasping, less clinging, less desperate holding on. You start to realize that so much of what you thought you needed, you don't. So much of what you were afraid to release, you're lighter without. So much of what you thought defined you wasn't really you at all. And as you practice letting go, as you create more space, something beautiful happens. Life starts flowing to you rather than you having to force everything. Opportunities appear that you couldn't have planned or predicted. Insights arise that couldn't have come through all your mental striving. Connections form naturally because you're present and available rather than distracted and drained. Solutions to problems appear when you stop trying so hard to figure them out. This isn't magic or wishful thinking. It's the natural result of creating space, of being present, of allowing rather than forcing. Think of it like this. When you're gripping tightly to a rope, trying to pull something toward you with all your might, your hands are occupied, you're expending enormous energy, and you can't receive anything else. But when you let go of the rope, your hands are free. You're available. You can receive what's being offered. You can respond to what's actually here rather than being fixated on pulling toward you what you think should be here. Letting go doesn't mean you become passive or stop engaging with life. It means you stop the exhausting, forceful grasping and you start dancing with life, responding, flowing, allowing. This is particularly true with emotions. So many of us hold on to emotions that are painful because we think letting them go means we're weak, we're forgetting something important, we're betraying ourselves or someone else. You hold on to anger because you believe it protects you or proves you were wronged. You hold on to grief because you believe releasing it means you didn't love deeply enough. You hold on to guilt because you believe you deserve to suffer. You hold on to fear because you believe it keeps you safe. But holding on to these emotions doesn't serve any of those purposes. It just keeps you stuck, keeps you suffering, keeps you from being fully alive in this present moment. Letting go of an emotion doesn't mean it never happened, or that it wasn't valid. It means you've felt it, you've honored it, you've learned from it, and now you're choosing not to carry it forward. You're choosing to release it so it doesn't define your present and future. This is an act of self-compassion, not betrayal. This is wisdom, not weakness. Every moment you spend reliving past pain or rehearsing future fear is a moment you are not available for the life that's actually happening right now. In the present moment, this now, is where life is. Not in memories, not in fantasies, not in plans or worries, but here. And the present moment, when you're actually in it rather than lost in thought about past or future, is almost always okay. Even when circumstances are difficult, in this exact moment, this breath, you're alive. You're breathing, you're aware. That's something. That's actually everything. From the present moment, from that grounded awareness, you can respond to challenges much more effectively than you can when you're lost in mental stories about how terrible everything is or how catastrophic the future will be. The practice is to keep returning to now, over and over. Your mind will wander to past and future thousands of times. That's what minds do. The practice isn't to never wander. It's to notice when you've wandered and gently return. Come back to breath, come back to body, come back to what's actually here. This simple practice, repeated again and again, fundamentally changes your experience of being alive. You start living your life instead of thinking about your life. You start experiencing reality instead of experiencing your thoughts about reality. And as you become more present, as you let go more fully, as you create more space, you start to discover something profound. You don't need as much as you thought you did to be happy. Not as much stuff, not as much achievement, not as much validation, not as much control. Your happiness becomes less conditional, less dependent on external circumstances being a certain way. This doesn't mean you stop wanting things or working toward goals. It means your well-being is no longer held hostage by outcomes you can't control. You can want things and be at peace if they don't happen. You can work toward goals and be okay in the process, not just if you achieve them. This is freedom. This is what the Buddha discovered under the Bodhi tree. Not some complex esoteric secret, but a simple truth. Suffering comes from clinging and craving, and freedom comes from letting go. Happiness is not something to pursue in the future through acquisition and achievement. It's something to discover in the present through release and acceptance. Peace is not created by getting everything you want. It's revealed by wanting what you have, by being with what is, by letting go of the desperate grasping that creates suffering. If these teachings resonate with you, and you want to continue deepening your practice of letting go and living more fully in the present, please subscribe to this channel. I share transformative wisdom every week to support your journey toward greater freedom and authentic living. Your presence here matters, and I'm grateful to walk this path alongside you. Now, for the secret I promised at the beginning, the one question that will show you exactly what you need to let go of. Here it is. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that, if I'm deeply honest, I know is draining my energy and preventing me from experiencing the life I'm meant to live? Sit with that question. Don't rush to answer. Let it work on you. The answer will come, perhaps immediately, perhaps over days, but it will come. And when it does, you'll know. You'll feel it in your body, that recognition of truth. And then the only question left is, are you ready to let it go? Not tomorrow, not someday when it's comfortable, but now. Because your life, your real life, your authentic life, is waiting on the other side of that release. And it's been waiting long enough.